We are only 3 weeks into 2026, and word on the street is that people are already feeling burnt out. So, what the heck is really going on? Welcome back to Her Becoming. I am your host, Kayla Countryman, and as always, it is a pleasure and an honor to have you here with me. Her Becoming is a personal development and holistic health and wellness podcast intended to help you become the person that you are destined to be. So, if you're new here, we explore topics from psychology and mindset to career development, building a business or a brand, wellness, nutrition, cycle syncing, hormonal health, everything under the sun that is part of your unique journey of becoming. And every once in a while, I like to pull my audience to figure out what y'all want to learn about. And lately, there has been a theme of burnout arriving in my DMs and in my comments and in my personal messages from y'all. So today, I really want to talk about what is this collective burnout that we are experiencing. Why do people feel so burnt out? And we're only 3 weeks into the year. And then I also want to talk you through a few different types of burnout, why it may be showing up, how you can differentiate one from the other, and then, of course, helping you identify practical and tangible things that you can do immediately to support you if you are feeling a little bit burnt out. So that is the outline of today's episode. You may notice my voice is a little bit raspy today. Bear with me. I was sick last week and I'm just at the tail end of this cold, but it wasn't going to stop me from getting these episodes out. So I might be a little bit raspy by the end of this episode. Just stick with me. We're going to get through it together. So back to this feeling of collective burnout, because if you're feeling burnt out right now, you are certainly not alone. So I want to talk about a few things that may be causing this for us as a society first, and then get into what may be causing it for you as an individual. So first of all, I'm going to bring seasonal living into the chat right now. We are still in January, and in January, we have been exploring this theme of self-trust and embodiment, listening to the signals that your body is communicating through, and also honoring this seasonal approach to living, because we are seasonal beings. We are creatures that are not meant to operate at 100% every single day of the year. So coming back to seasonality, recognizing that January is still the peak of winter. Whether or not you live in somewhere that is snowy and freezing, or if you're like me, you're in Arizona where the sun is still shining every day, it is still winter. Our days are shorter. It affects our brain chemistry. And so our fuse to getting burnt out is a little bit shorter this time of year. So if you're feeling that energy and you're wondering how you're already there at the top of the year, it could absolutely be just the seasonality. Second, and I think most importantly, like bold and highlight this in your mind, is let's just take a look at the state of our country and the state of the world right now. We are constantly getting devastating news. I feel like I have been saying that for the past year, but it just keeps happening. It's constantly something. And I don't want to sound so pessimistic, but I think that's just the truth right now. The state of the world that we're living in, the state that our government is currently operating in. Honestly, if you're not feeling burnt out and exhausted, tell us like what's working for you, because I'm finding it extremely challenging. And I know everyone in my life is finding it extremely challenging to go forward business as usual while we are watching the world crumble around us. And it's not just little things. It is complete devastation that we are witnessing. Murder, hate, crime happening before our eyes in our social media feeds, in our day-to-day lives every single day. So I want to make space for some grace here, because it is not normal for us to be this overstimulated with these types of events. It is not normal to watch people get murdered. It is not normal to witness genocide. It is normal to have a front row seat through our phone screens to a lot of painful events that are causing fear in our nervous systems, literally putting us into fight or flight. And so I don't want to disregard that and just say, oh, you just need to rest more. It would be doing you a disservice if I didn't confront the very real facts that the world is simply painful right now, and it is going to impact how quickly we arrive at burnout. It is going to impact our levels of motivation and our desires to proceed and move forward towards our goals and our dreams. It doesn't mean we give up, so we're going to talk about that today, but it does create a barrier, and I want to be really honest about that. And then lastly, and connected to that previous point, is simply overstimulation. We talk about this on the show a lot. The amount of content that we consume as individuals has significantly increased over these last few decades. And so the fact that we're constantly doom scrolling on social media, we're switching from Instagram to TikTok to YouTube all throughout the day, we are exposed to other people's lives constantly, other people's dreams constantly, other people's thoughts and opinions constantly. It creates overstimulation. And when you experience that level of overstimulation, that can often lead to comparison. That can often lead to feeling like you're not doing enough. That can often lead to feeling like you're behind. And all of that is going to create a formula that is an express path to feeling burnt out. So, those are just a few things overall that can collectively be making us feel burnt out or more prone to burnout. And so, today, what I want to talk about is how you can create structure in your life without falling into the burnout trap. Or if you're already in a state of burnout, and again, perfectly acceptable and reasonable for today's world, how you can come out of that, how you can slowly work your way through it, and also understand how to cope with it as it continues to show up in the future, because it will, and that's just the nature of existing right now. I'm using the word burnout a lot, and if you aren't familiar or you don't know if you're experiencing burnout, let's talk about some common signs that it may be showing up for you. So one of the telltale signs that you may be experiencing burnout is that you are having disinterest in things that you are usually interested in. So you're just not feeling that same level of joy around things that would typically bring you joy. You are experiencing increased irritability. This one is really big for me. Your tolerance for feeling annoyed, feeling frustrated is a lot lower. So you're arriving at those things quicker. That can be a telltale sign of burnout. You're feeling tired, not necessarily sleepy, but that like bone deep tired where you just don't feel like it. You just don't feel like showing up to work that day. You just don't feel like putting in the effort in your business. And then there's also physical signs of burnout. So again, the body keeps score. We are talking about embodiment and somatics and working with our bodies this month on the podcast. And so I want you to recognize that burnout can also show up through illness. It can show up through aches and pains, and it can show up through various body signals that are communicating to you. Coming back to the fact that we are in winter right now and seasonal living, and so we are in winter right now, which is also known as cold and flu season. People tend to get sick more often because of the dropping temperatures. We're not eating that great. We're exposed to more social gatherings around the holidays, etc. So it is no coincidence that you are also feeling more prone to burnout in a time where your immune system might be working a little bit harder just to get to that baseline right now. So think of this as your body communicating to you that something is off. All of these signs of burnout are just information for you to do something with. What are you going to do about the fact that you do feel less interested in things, you do feel more irritable, you do feel tired, and you do feel achy or sleepy or feeling like you're more prone to illness? Your body is communicating to you, and it is your responsibility to take that information and do something different. So sometimes burnout simply means you need to rest more. That is true sometimes. But more often, and what we don't speak about as much when it comes to burnout, it is usually just a mask for misalignment. So yes, it may be true that you are putting in too many hours. You're overworking at your job. You're not getting enough sleep. We see this a lot, for example, with like nurses and doctors who are just working around the clock, truly not enough hours in the day, constantly getting too little sleep, really impacting their immune systems. That level of burnout is very real, where you just need a freaking break. But if you're listening to this and you are feeling burnt out, I would challenge you to think that maybe it's not necessarily just needing more rest. Maybe it is, and that's okay, but it's really likely that it's not that. When I say burnout is usually a mask for misalignment, that means that we are just spending our time doing things that don't align with what we actually desire in life or don't actually align with our goals. So those are the two types of burnout we're going to explore today, really focusing on the latter type, the misalignment. And so let's break down, how can you tell if you are just overworked and need rest, or if you are experiencing some misalignment that is causing burnout? So a few questions you can ask yourself. First of all, are you actually feeling overworked? Like, being honest with yourself, be so real. Do you actually feel like you are working too many hours, you're working around the clock, or you are just overdoing it in one area of your life? Maybe you are in a really stressful career. That can absolutely cause you to just feel overworked. Maybe you are an athlete or you play a sport and you are just completely overdoing it right now and it's taking a toll on your body. That is very realistic and very possible. Are you missing out on rest, or is your body asking for more rest? Do you feel like your capacity to show up is significantly lower because you simply need to rest? One that can really help you differentiate the type of burnout you're experiencing is, do you feel energized in some activities but not others? So what I mean by this is, if you are genuinely just overworked, you're overdoing it, and you're tired, you need a break, you're probably not feeling energized by anything right now. You just simply need to sit the F down. But if you're noticing there's like buckets in your life right now where you feel really energized when you work on your business, and then you feel really disinterested when you are working your corporate job, and then you feel really good in social settings, and then you feel not so good when you are trying to prepare for your week on a Sunday, that to me speaks misalignment. Whereas if you are feeling completely not energized across the board, that's giving a little bit more overworked, tired, that type of burnout. And as we're talking about embodiment a lot this month, something that you can just start to notice is, notice what expands you and notice what contracts you. Notice what creates more space in your life and energizes you, and then notice what's making you feel small. If you're spending a lot of times in tasks and activities or around people that make you feel contracted, that make you feel small, that is going to be a direct path to feeling burnt out. Spending more time doing the things that expand you or around people who expand you, that's going to help you find that alignment in your life that you may be looking for. So, overall, just some quick takeaways from identifying what type of burnout you're experiencing. If you're experiencing misalignment, irritability and frustration will be really high in specific areas of your life where you're out of alignment. Especially if you're familiar with human design and you're a generator, frustration is the telltale sign of being out of alignment. Another quick sign that it's misalignment as opposed to just being overwork is the things that bring you joy or the things that you're passionate about will still get you into that flow state. You need to look at your life holistically and identify what needs to shift. It is absolutely possible to experience a little bit of both or to flow from one type to the other. I don't want this to feel like an either or situation. I know I go through seasons of both, and it's likely that you do as well. But what I want to pivot into now is, how do we move through this? How do we not suppress it, not hide it under the covers, but actually move through burnout as we're experiencing it and get to the other side, which is alignment, or maybe just rest, peace, and ease in our lives? Something that I want to encourage you to do, and this might sound counterintuitive at first, you need to run a strict program in your life. And when I say run a strict program in your life, I'm not talking about no days off, nonstop work, go, 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 that type of program, because that would be completely a direct path to burnout, which is what we're trying to avoid here. When I say you need to run a strict program in your life, I'm talking about you need to be strict about what you want. You need to be strict about your habits. You need to be strict about how you spend your time. You need to be especially strict about your rest, about your play, and then about your social connections and who you let in to access your energy. We can associate this word strict as like really negative and rigid, but I want to reframe that into self-discipline. Self-discipline is a form of self-love. That is something that I constantly preach on this podcast. I constantly preach in my life, and I'm constantly reminding myself of that too. And that comes through heavily here, because sometimes burnout is going to show up when we're just not being disciplined enough about the life that we actually want to create. We're talking about self-trust this month, and self-trust includes your ability to create the life that suits you. When you're disconnected from yourself and disconnected from the things that you want in life, you're just reacting to life as it happens to you. And guess what happens when you're reacting to life? You're going to get burnt out because you're not in control. You're not creating the life that you want. On the other side of that, when you're embodied, when you're connected to yourself and you're running that strict program of what you desire, that's when you get into co-creating your life. When I say co-creating, I believe that it's us and God, us and a higher power, creating our lives together. And so I really want you to understand that when I say you need to run a strict program in your life, be completely honest with yourself about how you're showing up for you right now. Are you in control of your habits? Are you being mindful about who you surround yourself with? Are you paying attention to what you're giving your time to? At the top of the episode, we talked about the state of the world right now and overconsumption and doom scrolling. Guess what's going to happen if you're spending 6 hours of your day scrolling through Instagram, consuming other people's lives, and reacting to your day? You're going to exist in a constant state of burnout, as opposed to if you were to take control of your day, creating your day from the moment you wake up. Are we able to control the things that happen throughout our day? Absolutely not. There's going to be things that are completely out of our control regardless. So when I say create your day, I'm talking about how do you start your morning? How do you speak to yourself? Who do you surround yourself with? Who do you call on the phone? Whose content are you consuming? All of these things are directly correlated to how burnt out you feel, how misaligned you feel in your life. Tap into self-discipline as a form of self-love and run that strict program. Be so real and so honest about what you want your life to look like and make it happen through your habits, through your circle, through how you spend your time, through being so committed to your self-care practices that you are constantly putting yourself first, because you know that when your cup is full, you're able to show up as your best self, put your best foot forward, and co-create the life that you truly want. So let's talk about some practices that are going to help you rebuild alignment and reduce burnout if you are experiencing misalignment in any categories of your life right now. First things first, connecting to a higher power. We just briefly touched on this. I truly believe that God is my co-creator, and I am connected to many higher powers that help me align in my life, stay grounded in my life, and also connect to myself. And then also morning rituals and practices that will help you start your day in control and not just in reaction mode. So morning rituals that I'm talking about here: journaling, self-inquiry, taking a few deep breaths, or starting a meditation practice, a gentle morning walk, maybe morning stretching, something that allows you to start your day for you. Going back to overstimulation, are you still starting your day with a scroll? Are you grabbing your phone first thing in the morning, looking at what everyone else is doing, looking at whatever the hell is happening in this country, which is always terrifying, and then trying to go about your day? That is so jolting to your nervous system. If you are doing that, please stop. Please stop starting your day with a scroll. Because if you're wondering why you're burnt out, I'm just going to put it there as number one position. It's going to be that. If you are starting your day consuming everything else instead of starting your day with your own life. One of my favorite practices that I swear by, and it works for me, is I actually sleep with my phone on a table across the room. So I don't even sleep with my phone in arm's reach of my bed. That ensures that I am never scrolling in my bed. My bed is my sanctuary. It is my safe space. I am not going to be consuming other people's lives. I'm going to wake up to just Kayla. So if you find yourself feeling stressed in the morning, cortisol is already spiking, so consuming news is not going to help. Try that. And if you can't get it across the room, maybe at least give it a few feet away from you so that you are not tempted to grab your phone. And another thing that you can do is use a real clock in your room, like a real old school digital clock. So many people rely on their phone for the time. Separate that. You can just get a cheap clock on Amazon. If you want to be fancy, I have a Hatch and I'm obsessed with it. So you can use, but relying on your phone for the time is only going to create that direct path to stimulation. And what do we know about that after today? that is going to increase your chances of feeling this burnout. Movement. No shockers here. You need to move energy through your body. Go for a gentle walk. Reconnect to the type of workouts that actually feel good in your body. Go get some fresh air. Go listen to the birds chirp. Go listen to the natural sounds of the wind and nature and animals and the water. Like wherever you are, go outside. Such an underrated life hack. Being in nature is so calming for your nervous system. So if you are looking to find alignment and reduce burnout, get your ass outside. Nature is truly healing for us as humans. So instead of getting horizontal and doom scrolling, take your ass outside and lay in the sun. And then last but certainly not least on this piece is reconnect to your vision. What are you working towards long term? Everything comes back to what do you actually desire? If you are out of alignment right now and that's causing you to feel burnt out, maybe it's because you don't love your job. Maybe it's because you're spending time with the wrong people. Maybe it's because you know what you desire, but you know that you're not doing the things you need to do to get there. Reconnect to the vision. Spend a couple minutes just journaling about where do you see yourself 6 months from now? Where do you see yourself 1 year from now? And then build your habits from there. If you know in 1 year you want to have a business, you want to be living in a different city, you want to be in a loving partnership or have friendships that look differently, write that down. And then notice what habits does that version of you need to have. We talk about this all the time because it's the premise of this entire podcast. You have to show up as the person you want to be. You have to just start showing up as her now. And so if you're burnt out, if you're out of alignment, that can lead to a lot of analysis paralysis. That can lead to feeling like you're stuck, feeling like it's not time to really chase your goals and move forward. And I want to challenge that. If you're out of alignment, get to the root cause of why, but then reconnect to the vision and figure out what do you need to do habits wise today to reconnect to the person that you are becoming. And I'm sharing all of this from a place of feeling a little bit burnt out lately myself. I had a moment this morning. First of all, I'm recording this on MLK Day. My corporate job does not give us this day off, which is crazy to me. So I had to use a day of PTO to take the day off today. And I'm spending the day recording because I want to pour into my business. But I had to have an honest moment today of, Kayla, you need to lock the F in right now because I have felt myself slacking off in areas that I want to thrive in. I have felt myself using a little bit of burnout and a little bit of exhaustion combined with being sick and on my period last week. So there is some grace to be given. But I've felt myself slacking off in the very things that I want to thrive in. And I share this because sometimes when we're feeling burnt out, we just have to have that mirror moment, that like Issa Rae and Insecure self to self moment where you just look at yourself and you're like, lock in, babe. Let's go. Like, let's go. Let's be so for real about the things that we desire in this life right now and work towards them. Let's stop having this pity party. Let's stop feeling sorry for ourselves and let's get to work. And you need to know how to balance that with grace and rest, but you have to know when to lock in. You have to know when to take advantage of the energy and to find that alignment and get serious about the things that you want in life. And that's the moment that I had with myself this morning. Very follicular phase of me. Last week's episode was all about cycle syncing. And so I'm right at that follicular. Energy is increasing. I'm like ready to go. I'm ready to move forward. And so I need to capitalize on that energy. And that's part of this realignment as well. This being strict with your program and finding structure is understanding your body, understanding when it's time to full send it and when it's time to pull back. And maybe, just maybe, part of the reason you're feeling burnt out is because you're not in that flow yet. You're trying to push too hard when your body needs rest, and you're maybe not pushing it enough when your body has that uptick of creative energy. So just a reminder on the ebbs and the flows of our bodies, of the seasons, of our cycles. Everything is connected here. And the reality is burnout is going to show up. It's just not realistic to create a life only doing the things that we feel like doing. And there might be some self-help gurus out there that would disagree with me on that. But I truly believe life is going to bring you moments of doing things that you don't feel like doing. There is going to be misalignment that shows up. There's going to be inconveniences that show up. That is just life. Right now, I cannot just decide I don't want to work my 9 to 5 anymore because it's not aligned to the full-time entrepreneur I want to be. In fact, I have to reframe that and recognize that although it's not part of the long-term path for me, it's a very important stepping stone to getting there. And so that reframe alone makes it more manageable. Some of the things that we are going to do in life right now might be out of alignment in our long term vision, but they make sense. And it's important to be able to differentiate that for yourself, for you. This comes back to the self trust factor. You have to know what sacrifices you have to make to get to your end goal. For me, working this 9 to 5 for a few years, it's going to be a sacrifice that I'm willing to take to build this business of my dreams, to grow this podcast to its full potential that I know it's possible. But I have to recognize that it's okay for this to feel a little bit out of alignment right now as far as my 9 to 5 because it's a stepping stone. And so I just want to put that out there. This is not a podcast episode that is telling you to just delete everything from your life that you don't like right now. Because again, it's not realistic. There's going to be challenges, there's going to be inconveniences. It is your job and your responsibility to understand how to identify and how to notice what makes sense right now and what doesn't. What is out of alignment temporarily and what is out of alignment because you're doing things and sending your energy where it doesn't belong. So something that I talk myself through often is, okay, this 9 to 5 is a sacrifice that I'm willing to make to build my business. So how can I adjust other parts of my life to make it feel better, to keep myself in that flow state where I'm not succumbing to burnout so often? So for me, that looks like sticking to my morning routine, my meditation, my journaling, my reading, playing tennis, joy and play, rewarding myself. I am big on if I lock in for this amount of time, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. That helps me get into the flow and then get into the rest or the reward. And then also prioritizing rest always, being in tune with my cycle always. Those are the things that are going to help me adjust and make sure that I'm not just falling into burnout because of this one area of my life. Does that make sense? I really hope this helps you understand that burnout is going to show up, but there are ways that you can deal with it. And not only is burnout going to show up, but it's going to show up in different ways. You are the co-creator of your life. I cannot tell you what's out of alignment for you. You cannot tell me what's out of alignment for me. You have to build that self-trust. You have to fine-tune your intuition to be able to communicate to you what you need, what you don't need, what's for you, what's not for you. So the prompt that I will leave you with today: what needs to shift to create space for the habits and routines that support your becoming? What needs to shift to create space for the habits and routines that support your becoming? That is all for today's episode. I hope this helps you understand your burnout a little bit more intimately, and most importantly, helps you move through it and understand how you can shift and adjust in your life to create more space for the things that are in alignment to the person that you want to be. As always, it would mean the world if you send this episode to someone in your life that may need to hear this as well. Post on social media, tag me, subscribe, rate, review, all of the things to show this show some love. It means the world. I will see y'all next week, and until then, be well.